and say, so welcome. Give me a little bit of your background. So we'll start off with just tell me who you are, where you came from, your background in college. We'll talk about your Page County connection. That should get us through the first segment, and then when we come back, I want to talk about how, because you're from Page County, you've got a couple of special goals, things like that. What your goals are 2018, 2019 versus maybe long term. And I want to know what the most interesting interview question was that maybe stumped you when you were interviewing for this job. Was there a question that was like, oh,
I gotta think back.
You were trying to forget those weeks. Right? Was it a week or 2 weeks? Or?
Oh, it was a lot of questions.
Oh my gosh.
So
I can only imagine.
Me.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am very excited because it's Lord Fairfax Day.
It is.
I love Lord Fairfax Day. It's one of my favorite days of the month. So Brandy is here from Lord Fairfax Community College. And I'm really excited because Kim Blosser is also here. She is their new president. 8 days in and you are coming to talk to me. I am so tickled.
And I wouldn't have been anywhere else 8 days in but to have been right here.
This might be a nice break. It might be nice for you to,
Sure.
This is a good 30 minutes. I'm not going to think about that for a little bit.
That's right.
And then, of course, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about work.
Right.
So it's not really a good lunch break for you.
That's all right.
And I
like
didn't have
talking about
food.
Lord Fairfax.
See, that's
true.
perfect.
You brought me water, though, which is
yeah.
nice.
So tell me, we mentioned you're 8 days in, but you're not new to Lord Fairfax Community College. You're not even new to the Shenandoah Valley. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm not new to the Valley. I grew up in Page County, graduated from Page County High School, went off to college, lived in Augusta County for a period of time. I taught high school. I was at one time a licensed insurance agent in my past. That's a little surprise to some folks that might not even know that. Went on and I got into community colleges. My first full-time teaching position was at a community college, was at Blue Ridge, further down the Shenandoah Valley. And then I became a dean. And then I have been at Lord Fairfax as the Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs. I started actually as the Associate Vice President, but I've been there 5.5 years before this opportunity came up.
Wow. And I've read, because Brandy is phenomenal. Brandy and Lee,
Yes,
they both sent me all of my little cheat sheets and my prep work. And I was reading this bio about you that said you originally, followed the traditional path. Mm-hmm. And, you graduate high school and you're off to a 4-year college, but kind of got lost a little bit and didn't really know what you wanted to do with that 4 years and took a different turn that kind of put you where you are now.
Yeah, I think I was like a lot of our 18-year-olds when they first go to college. They think they want to do something. We try to always ask our kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you think you want to do? And so I said, I want to be a lawyer. And I always joke and say my mother thought that was a great idea because we argued a lot when I was a teenager, and so she thought that would be a great career field. So I went off to college thinking I was going to be a lawyer. And the first couple classes I took in political science and some of the history, I thought, I don't think that's going to be my path. And I thought there is really no reason for me to waste the money staying in a 4-year school when I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I came back home, moved back with my parents, and I started going to community college. And that's where I figured out that I could, talk to people. I could take some extra classes to see what I wanted to do. And that's where I actually ended up deciding I loved business classes and accounting classes and ended up majoring in business. And then I transferred back to a 4-year school once I figured out really what I wanted to do and what I wanted to major in.
Well, and Brandy and I talk about that a lot because that is kind of one of the best perks to a community college is it does give you that freedom. And from an expense perspective, it's a whole lot cheaper to kind of figure out what do you want to do and learn about the path you want to take instead of just assuming that's where you want to go. Everybody, I want to be a firefighter, and then don't really think, what's going to be involved with that. A lawyer is a pretty big undertaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can imagine where that is kind of overwhelming once you get in there. But coming back to a community college, you kind of get a sense of, okay, now I have all of these other options. There are base classes you're going to have no matter what you decide to do.
Right.
So you can still be involved that way.
Right. And so many times our students, they just haven't been exposed to so many, the careers. They know maybe what their parents do, and some of them aren't really even sure exactly what their parents do every day. My kids even ask me now, so what exactly do you do every day when you go to work? But they don't, so they just haven't had that exposure to understand what it is they want to do. We have some that clearly know they've always wanted to be a nurse, or they've always wanted to be an elementary school teacher. But the vast majority really, I think I was more like, you think you have an idea until you really get in it, and then you just have to try kind of change your path along the way.
Now, did you find, once you were, because you said you majored in business, how did you end up as a teacher?
I got my business administration degree, and that's when I became a licensed insurance agent. And I suddenly decided I didn't think I could go and work in the same office and do that every day. I worked for some very nice people, and so I ended up going back and taking classes at James Madison to get my endorsement to teach business classes. And I ended up teaching high school and coaching softball for 3 years at the high school level at Robert E. Lee High School in Stanton. And that's when I got more into the IT area, and computers were starting to be in classrooms, and the internet was coming about, and I started working with teachers on teaching them IT skills, and so that's how I ended up becoming an adjunct at the community college. Then I ended up teaching, my first classes were teaching teachers how to use computers in their classroom and how to use the internet, how to create a spreadsheet to put all their grades on, and those kind of things. And so that was sort of what led me to the community college, was teaching teachers classes as an adjunct, and then they had a full-time position, and the rest is history, I guess, as they say.
Now, did you ever, way back then, imagine this is where you would be today?
No. Every time I talk to a group of students, I say, what do you want to do? And they'll say, I'm working on my general studies degree, and I think I want to transfer. And I tell them all, when I was your age, there was no chance I ever said, I think I'd like to be a president of a community college one day. I said it wasn't, but you continue to get your education, you continue to work towards that, and it just opens more and more opportunities for you. And so we just talk about that, and I think it gives you a good example of when who thought you were going to be doing this, when you were the same age that they are.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I noticed from reading some of the bio things that you were very involved from a student perspective on helping kids make that decision. You're on the consortium that helps kind of workforce development and things like that to make sure that kids understand. You mentioned some kids don't even know what their parents do. They just know they leave the house every day and they come home at the same time every day. That's right. A big deal for you, is to kind of work in that aspect to make sure these kids are educated about what their educational options are.
Yeah, education is expensive. It doesn't matter, even for community college students. It's we wish it was less expensive than it is for everyone that comes to us. But we don't want them spending time on, just floundering, just picking classes. It is a good opportunity to be able to explore some different areas, but we want to help them from the beginning. We always say, a lot of, and this is no criticism on four-year institutions, but a lot of time career services is at the very end when you're trying to help do a resume to go out and get a job or get that internship. But so much of what I think our students need is career services from the very beginning, to understand what all those different options are. Brandy and her folks are doing a fantastic job right now looking at redesigning our website so that it focuses on careers and helps students really understand, so they know, I want to do something in the health professions field. There are tons of other things besides just nursing in the health professions, and we're working on a website that helps that career development from the very beginning, so they know all the options they have.
Well, and that was something, Guy was here last month and had brought some people from the different medical programs, and even I didn't realize the vast number of options. He's talking about medical stuff, and I'm like, okay, so you want to be a nurse? And she's like, actually, you can be in the medical profession and not ever touch blood or be in that traditional nurse. There are medical assistants, there are all of these other options that you kind of give them that kind of pathway to say, hey, look, there's more to this.
Right. And I think that's really key to, especially with our students, is opening their eyes to all those different areas.
Now, I tell you what, I want to take a quick break. Because I want to come back and talk a little bit about your connection to Page County, because you kind of have a goal of something that you want to do in Page County to open that up to more students and kind of help them a little bit further along in their path. So, I tell you what, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Brandy is here. I swear she's here.
I am high.
Yes, we're actually doing a little thing where we're videotaping this show as a little trial run. So Dylan is also here, furiously wiggling the camera. So those of us that are going to get to see this later are going to get to see what we talk about when we go to break right now. But we're going to come back and talk more with Brandy. She is with Lord Fairfax Community College. Kim is their new president. I am Janet Michael, and you're listening to The Valley Today. I know, I'm like, oh, I love that you can talk.
Yes. I only bring the talkers, Janet. I only bring the talkers.
She does. I mean, she is one of the few people that come in.
I never have. Well, the trick is then I don't have to talk. So
Yeah.
this is like what happens every time. Like I literally just sit here and now I have to smile.
Yeah.
So now nod. Normally I just sit over here and doze off. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you always do, and I'm like, I swear she's here, and then every once in a while she'll say, I'm here.
It doesn't bother me at all because they're the people I bring is the reason that we're here, not me.
Well, we had a hiccup last week. So every Wednesday the show has a theme for the Valley Business Today.
Mm-hmm.
So we rotate through the chamber presidents, and they usually bring a chamber member to come in and talk about their business.
Mm-hmm.
The third Wednesday until June was Dr. Davis.
Oh yeah, I've thought about you as soon as I heard he got the presidency. I thought of you.
Yeah, I'm trying to work in. I would give up a wardrobe budget for a monthly plane ticket to Oregon to still have Dr. Davis on the show.
Yeah,
I'm going on record. So he comes, but when there's a fifth Wednesday, Sally Michaels comes.
Oh, okay.
So Sally was supposed to be on last Wednesday and said she didn't have anything, but she had reached out to new workforce development director that the city of Winchester just hired, George Hodno. I'm probably butchering his name. And so I'm thinking, great, Sally's coming with this guy, no big deal. Sean Hirschberger comes walking in at 12:15, and I'm like, where is everybody? He goes, oh, I don't know, I guess Sally's coming. Sally wasn't coming. So he comes in expecting to spend 3 minutes just going over something with her here to do all of, and it wasn't anybody but me and Sean.
And
but
time
you,
to
but
fill.
you pulled it off.
And
right?
we winged that show like you would not believe.
I have no doubt that it was.
I was educating him on Winchester. He was
Good.
referring to something with Winchester Towers.
Okay.
He goes, the old Winchester Towers. And I said, I'm going to stop you. It's actually the Darlington Towers. It's one of those from being, I'm from here.
That's funny.
So we're going to do a spot, and then there'll be the weather. And after Kim gets done with the weather, we'll come back. And then we take another break at about 12:50. So I want to know what Page County. Let's talk a little bit about Page County and what your hopes are for building. It's a new center
building.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Our own building.
Yeah, and we're also the building in Fauquier
Mm-hmm.
that we're
working on too.
that we're working
Okay.
on as
Thread that one
well.
in, too. That's a state funded project. That we
Yeah.
Perfect.
But we're raising money for the Luray, and there's something going on at Middletown, right? There's usually always something about that. Am I forgetting something?
We've had that whole entire renovation and that whole process. So
Yeah, we're
no,
done with
not in
that.
terms of buildings. Although that's where
No.
we need. That is where we need.
Yeah.
We need a health professions building. Terrible.
Yeah. It's amazing how fast we outgrew ours.
All right. Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael, and in this segment today, we have been getting to know Kim Blosser. She is the new president at Lord Fairfax Community College. Brandy is here. I swear she's here.
Hi.
Say hi, Brandy.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
And I have to ask, and I should have done this before we came on the air, and then I should have done it again during the. Am I saying Blosser right? Is that
You
right?
are absolutely correct.
Okay, well, I didn't get that look that's like, oh, should I correct her? But she's already said it twice. Okay, so good. I always like to make sure, because usually I ask ahead of time, but I was just so excited that you were coming that I totally blew through that like nothing.
You did it
So
perfect.
we were talking during the first break a little bit about how you managed, how you kind of started off a lot like a lot of the community college students do, with a path that you thought was going to be your path, and then there was a little fork in the road and a little roundabout, and you ended up at Lord Fairfax Community College. But you're from Page County originally, and because I assume that's near and dear to your heart, you've got a project that you're kind of hoping in your new tenure you can kind of get off the ground that's going to help the students in Luray and Page County.
Yeah, we the center at Luray was opened about 11 years ago. It's the part of the old Wrangler building that when part of it closed down, the town of Luray actually took that building, and at the very beginning they were trying to do training for a lot of the unemployed folks that had just been laid off when part of the Wrangler plant had closed, and they offered space, and so Lord Fairfax went and had a center in Luray for the first time. And since then, we've remained in that space. We've done some renovations to it. We lease it, but it's not ideal for instruction. It, as I said, was an old Wrangler annex, and we've done as much as we can do with it to make it look nice. But it isn't set up to have science labs, for example. We looked at if we could add a biology or a multi-purpose lab, and it was going to be well over $100,000. And again, it's a leased space.
Yeah, when you get into those numbers, it does start making more sense to look at your own facility.
It does. So one of the things that I will say, Lord Fairfax, one of the only community colleges in Virginia, has done is to do a partnership with the Educational Foundation, where the Lord Fairfax's Educational Foundation will build a facility. They will be the ones that raise the money, will finance that, and then the college will lease back from our Educational Foundation. The reason we do that is because at that point, once we have that building paid for, then that money can be used to maintain the building, but then can also be used to provide scholarships and that type of thing. So last year, we've been talking about this, and Dr. Cheryl Thompson-Stacy, the previous president, she was very supportive of figuring out a way to get a nicer location in Page, a building that was designed for instruction. And so the Jenkins family last fall approached us about donating land, and they originally donated 6.3 acres of land behind Walmart on 211, and anyone that goes to Luray knows where Walmart is. People go there daily sometimes, but they donated land behind there. They have since donated an additional 2 acres, and so that started the process of, could we then raise enough money to build our own facility? So our Educational Foundation is embarked on a small campaign, but we hired a consulting company to help us. They did a small study in Page County to see how much money they thought that we could raise to support that building, and they think that we can raise $1.5 to $1.7 million. And as of today, we are over the $1 million mark.
Wow.
In terms of fundraising to get a building in Page County. And so our goal is through 2018, through this year, we will do our campaign fundraising events. We are hopeful that in September our Educational Foundation has been holding a fundraising event in Page County called Evening with the Stars.
Yes, the ladies from Luray have actually come and talked about that on the air.
Yes, and we hope at that September event we'll be able to really show a picture of what the building would look like, to be able to actually talk about the money that's been raised for it, and we're excited. We have a lot of support. One of the things we want to be able to do that we currently can't do is bring additional programming that'll help not only Page County, but it helps Warren County.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may be that the folks that live in the Raleighville or Bentonville area, it's a lot closer for them to drive into
Newmarket.
Luray.
I didn't realize how many people from Newmarket will actually
Right.
shoot over 211 to Luray for different things. So yeah, it's a lot bigger market than what you think.
It is. We even have students from the Elkton area. We have students even from Broadway, that it's just easier for them to come across and go to Luray than it is to go either on 81 in a direction, I guess.
Now, did you know coming into this, when you were going through the massive interview process, that eventually when you got the job, that you were also kind of going to be a construction manager and a fundraiser and all of these other things?
Well, you realize there's going to be a lot to learn, I think, in that process. The first thing, I got offered the chancellor called me at 12:45. I can remember what time it was. And he said, oh, and by the way, at 2 o'clock, we have a budget conference call meeting with all the presidents, and I'd like for you to be on it. And so the fun started at literally an hour and 15 minutes or so after. And the whole legislative process in terms of the funding has been new. The construction process is already a lot to learn, but it's exciting to learn new things.
Well, and again, it's one of those things where you never would have guessed,
Right.
from back when you were trying to decide at a 4-year school what you wanted to be when you grew up, that
Right.
this is ultimately what you were going to be.
Right. That's
Awesome.
exactly right.
Well, I tell you what, we are going to take another quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to make Brandy say something. She is sitting here looking way too comfortable. Brandy is here from Lord Fairfax Community College, along with their new president, Kim Blosser. We are talking about Lord Fairfax, Kim's goals, and talking a lot about Page County and some of the really cool stuff that's coming up there. I am Janet Michael, and you're listening to The Valley Today.
From the River 95.3.
And we're clear. Yay!
Isn't this when people come in then and start doing
Yeah,
makeup?
I know, I'm
yeah,
waiting
where's,
to
yeah,
be
could you give me the,
refreshed.
I need some powder, I'm shiny.
Checking.
I need hair, I need powder, I need lipstick.
All right, so now time becomes a bigger deal than what it has been. So typically what happens is when we go on the air, I know that I have a window that I have to take each of my breaks. So typically between 12:36 and 12:42, I have to take a break. I usually tell guests 12:40 so that I've got wiggle room in case they get long-winded. I'm not like freaking out and having to interrupt them to go to break. The last one was 12:46 to 12:52. This is what we call a hard break. If we're not done talking by 12:57:50, they cut me off anyway. And that's actually happened, but that's that was way back when. So normally what I do is tell guests, as long as you're done by 12:57 up, that gives me the last 50 seconds to thank you for coming. Maybe, do I know who's on the show tomorrow? I can't remember. So I won't say who's on the show tomorrow.
Someone
Yeah,
will be on
somebody
tomorrow.
will be here tomorrow. I just have no idea who it's going to be. And just kind of wrap up and then get out.
Okay.
So,
At 12:57.
yeah, so usually this last segment is about 4 minutes, 5 minutes long. Anything specific? Registration, any of that?
Yeah, I could just mention that second 8-week classes, it's not too late to take some spring courses.
Okay.
Second 8-week classes start March 18th. We currently are, our window for applying for scholarships is open now, so I definitely want to hit on that because a lot of individuals thinking about coming to LFCC will wait until the
We
summer
talked about that, yeah.
to start thinking about scholarships, but actually the window is from now until March 30th that you need to actually apply for LFCC
Okay.
scholarships, so that's important. And then, that summer and fall registration is going to be open the first week of April,
And that's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, so all this stuff comes up on us really quickly, but
All
it's
right.
here.
So we've got about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael, and this segment is brought to you by Valley Health Orthopedics, offering minimally invasive surgery options for a quicker recovery. You can learn more today at valleyhealthlink.com. We've got a couple of minutes left in the studio. We've been talking with Brandy and the new president at Lord Fairfax Community College, and I'd always know that even if Brandy doesn't say anything during the first 2 segments, I'm going to get her to talk during the last segment because you kind of give me the meat of what's going on at Lord Fairfax, from registration, scholarships, and you talked about scholarships when you were here 2 months ago, and the fact that there's a huge misconception about when people should apply, and that time is now.
It is now, and so we really want to get that point across. The window to apply for LFCC scholarships is from now until March 30th. And what that means is you actually fill out one 5-minute application, so it's very quick and easy, and it's applied to over 200 scholarships.
Oh.
Thousands of dollars are given away, so don't hesitate to apply. You never know. Even if you think you wouldn't qualify for anything, it doesn't matter. Fill out the application, and to do that, you go to lfcc.edu/scholarships. And there's one prestigious scholarship that's also available right now to apply for, and it's our Ross Scholarship.
We had one of your winners on.
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic scholarship that basically gives a student a full ride at LFCC, and it's community service based, so it's tied to a community service project that the student's passionate about. And we have some outstanding students that apply for it. So we just want to encourage as many individuals to go after that as possible.
Well, and that's the thing, too, that, a lot of people forget about. Your scholarships aren't always financial need based. They are based on maybe the field that you're going into. They're based on what your passions are. It could be community service. It could be art. It could be any number of different things. So don't think that, my parents probably make too much money, I'm not going to apply for the scholarship. That's not the case across the board.
No, a perception is that you have to apply for financial aid in order to apply for scholarships. That is not true. So you do not have to apply for financial aid. It's encouraged. We encourage everyone to do it because even if you get $1, it makes a difference.
Yes.
But you you do not have to do that to apply for our scholarships.
So, and registration is right around the corner.
It is, and it's not too late to maybe grab a course or 2 or 3 this spring. We have some second 8-week classes starting the middle of March, so come on in and talk to an advisor, and we'd be glad to get you started now. Or you can simply start thinking about summer courses or fall courses. Registration is going to open the first week of April. So even though, you don't really think about it this soon.
We're all thinking as cold and nasty as the weather has been, we're all thinking about April.
As far as I'm concerned, Christmas was last week, but that's just not, that's not reality. So we all need to just get ahead of the game, and some benefits of doing that is simply you're going to get better choices. The best classes fill up first, the times, and we know that a majority of our students work, balance family, balance so many other things in their personal life, so they need the ideal schedule. So the key is to get in there early to make sure you can, fill out the financial aid in time to see, what is covered and what is not, make payment plan, options, look at all of that. So now's the time to start thinking about that and add it to your calendar.
Well, and the cool thing about some of those 6 and 8 week classes, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Kim, is it gives you a chance to kind of explore and figure out, okay, I'm going to take this class because it's kind of going to give me this overview to see if this really is what I want to do. And that's the biggest part of education. You don't want to waste it, and it's never really wasted, but it is if you're not going to ultimately do what you took these classes for.
Right. I mean, one of the nice things we do have at Lord Fairfax is we create an opportunity for students to register almost at any point during our semesters by having these late starting 8-week classes. So if you are right now thinking, gosh, I wish I would have done something, and you know that if you wait until fall, you're going to probably put that off. You can come in right now and get into a class. It's going to be the second 8 weeks that hasn't started. Get you time to even now there are students still coming in and filling out financial aid information for this spring that want to get a class, see if they can get a class covered. Certainly the scholarships are for next year,
right?
But the other options are still available for students.
Well, and that's what makes it really cool, because you can also come in now and say, look, I think I want to come back to school. I don't really know what I want to study. Those people are there all year round.
We're here all year round to help you.
And more information.
And we don't have our summers off.
Yeah.
Contrary to what some people think.
That's right. And more information can be found where?
LFCC.edu/future students if you want to go and just look at the new steps, and then LFCC.edu/scholarships.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited. This again, another stellar show.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I want to thank Brandy. She is with Lord Fairfax Community College. President Kim, thank you. Now, are you going to have a cool name like Dr.
You know what? Interestingly enough, that I've been asked that question many times, and I just said, "Well, I think I'm just going to be Kim."
We'll wait and see. If you missed any part of today's show, head over to our website at theriver953.com. Click the On Demand tab. You'll be able to listen to it all over again. I want to thank you for listening today. I am Janet Michaels. See you back here tomorrow.
It'll be Dr. K.
And we're clear.
Dr. K.
Dr. K. Yeah.
Everybody calls me Dr. Dr. C.
There were like all these questions that I thought as soon as I become, I'm going to get hit with. Like, why can't we change this?
Like
or why don't
questions?
we do this?
Yeah.
The one I never even gave any thought to was everybody said, so what are we supposed to call you now? And I said, well, I guess Kim, because that's what Kim for 5.5 years.
How many of the staff asked you about Blue Jean Day?
Oh my gosh.
I got that in the interview question.
Every single candidate for the presidency got asked if we would still be allowed to wear jeans. And no difficult questions as far as like policy or
any of that.
It was about the jeans.
What do you think
it was about the jeans.
Friday jeans.
And every time I heard that question, I laughed to myself because I'm like, well, no candidate's dumb enough to stand up there and say, well, that's
no.
the first thing I'm cutting out.
Well, and you kind of had the inside scoop there because you were already an employee, so you already had the benefit of being able to take part in that. So,
I just said I wish I could find a pair of jeans
I know,
that I actually really liked.
Your answer was the best.
If I could find a pair I really liked, I'd love it.
The only issue I have with Friday jeans is that I have not found a pair that I like yet. Yeah.
So does that mean there might be a whole fashion design curriculum coming to Lord Fairfax?
I don't know.
We're just going to go to sweatpants Friday so we can breathe.
Yeah, yoga pants, any of that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll go.
So was it as big of a deal? I mean, we always joke about the president. I always think it's funny with separate and apart, yes, we always joke about the president. But anyway, the big deal about when Obama left office on Inauguration Day.
Mm-hmm.
And the time that he left before the inauguration was over, they have to do this complete sweep and get all of his stuff out and get all of the new person's stuff in. Is that? I assume it's not to that grand of a scale.
It certainly is not at the community college level. And I will tell you, the one thing I absolutely love is Dr. Cheryl has this lovely desk that's one that raises up and down so that it's a standing desk if you want, or it's a sitting desk if you want. And I did not want that to go anywhere. I love that.
Yeah, that's nice.
So her pictures she took out, her stuff she took when she left in December, and
so you weren't going in there with like a tape measure saying, "Oh, I need to measure this," and
No.
swatches to put on the walls.
Nope. The only thing I did was brought my chair that I had and took her chair to my old office, and that's pretty much the extent of it.
Now I know because she was here before she was done,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked her whether she was going to kind of hang around and offer advice or be somebody that could, give you some guidance in any way, and she basically said, "Nope." And, part of it was that she was looking forward to being retired, even though she wasn't quite sure what that was going to look like yet. But she felt like this was yours, and she didn't want to be here with you feeling like maybe she was looking over your shoulder. She wanted you to be able to take the reins and go and do without her having any kind of... Were the two of you friends? I mean, do you still talk to her and say, "Okay, I don't know about all this"?
You didn't warn me about this.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me?
No, she has been more than gracious. She said, call me anytime, and so I have called her about little things. There was a question that came up with Faculty Senate about commencement. And so I sent her a note and said, "Hey, do you have a few minutes we can talk?" And just to get the background, to get the history on why this was like it was, or what had led her to make that decision, kind of stuff. So I've called her and talked to her about several things. And she told me, she said, I know it's February 1. She sent me a note. She said, "But you can still call me after February 1. And I said, "I promise you I will still have questions after February 1.
What is hilarious is during her retirement celebration in November, I don't know who was in charge of this, but they created a giant cutout of her, and it looks real. Well, the cutout now is in the IT office, and it's peering out of, one of the office doors, and when you walk in, you think it's her. So the IT staff dies of laughter daily several times because when people come in, they what? So I did actually, I think someone put a sweatshirt on her the other day, and, somebody puts headphones on her, but I took a picture of it and posted it to her Facebook page, and I said, "Dr. Cheryl, I know that the IT department is, the best around." I said, "But do you really have to visit there every day?" And I was like,
other people would like to see you too.
I said, "The other departments are getting really jealous." And so, but what's funny is I followed that thread, and some of her friends thought it was really her. They couldn't tell it was a cutout. And so she has to, I'm sure she's she's probably not loving that I posted that because she's having to defend herself and going, "Do you really think I'm still hanging out there every day?" So I was like, "Oh no, I hope she's okay that I posted that." But it is startling people because it looks so real.
That is so cool. I'm gonna have to come by so you can just show me.
Yeah.
I'll come by one after, because I live in Middletown. I'm a couple of blocks from the college. So I'll come by one day when she's there, and we'll all go down and we'll take a selfie with her.
Yeah, you should.
We will totally do that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of creativity around that.
Yeah.
People are, so.
But I like Dr. K. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
See?
You can look into that.
But yeah, and there's a little bit of danger in letting the students decide, because you never really know what in the world they're going to come up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a couple of months, I'll have you back again and say, "Okay, so here's what it seems. It seems like now my nickname."
I'll have to come. Right.
Awesome. And guys coming next month.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know who I'm bringing the next month. I will work on that.
Oh, yeah.
I might bring Dr. Cheryl the cutout.
Now that you're filming it.
Yeah. Oh.
I'll bring the cutout.
That
Just
would be...
I don't know what I'll have her say, but I'll come up with something.
I'll have to get our wonderful videographer here to go back to the podcast when she was here.
Yeah.
And see if he can't pull something out of something that she said about her time here or whatever. And we can say, "So, Dr. Cheryl, what do you think?" And it just keeps on a loop. Her saying the same thing over and over again.
She's having fun in retirement. Why can't we have fun too?
Yes. Well, and that's got to be a huge thing for her too, is that, to be gone and to know that she still has left. That was one of her things. She just wanted to feel like she had made an impact and that she had this
absolutely.
long-lasting impression on people, and she certainly has. I mean,
Absolutely.
she was fantastic. So,
Mhm.
and I joked with her because I knew Ski, who was there before her, and I'm like, so did you come into this worried about this reputation? Thankfully, I'd asked her before we went on the air, because the look was like, okay, I'm not asking her that one on the air. That was like, I don't know. So, but I mean, and did you think you had a leg up because you were already at Lord Fairfax?
Well,
I didn't want to ask you that on the air
Those
because I
are-
didn't know.
Well, those are hard. I mean, you have advantages and disadvantages, I think, to be internal. You know people, you know the institution, but you could have already upset someone about a decision you've made, and they have an opinion already formed about you, so there's not, a fresh start
Yeah.
for some.
And sometimes people are just so bent on change.
Yes.
Somebody new, regardless of how qualified the person may be that's there now, they want what they think is that fresh perspective.
Well, what I think is, when you mentioned Dr. Sigilski, I think at that point at the institution, no internal candidate probably would have ever gotten a job, because they did want somebody.
Yeah.
They wanted a different
Yeah.
environment there.
Yeah.
I think I did benefit, and I've said this publicly, I think I have certainly benefited from the fact that people like working, they like the culture that's there right now. They didn't want to see the culture changed.
Yeah.
And because I did know about it and understood what was so good about it,
Yeah.
I think that gave me an advantage. I don't think I ever had it in the bag by any stretch. I don't think that, but I think that the way where we are right now favored someone internally being able to get it. And I've seen I was on another search at another community college in Virginia, and it was clear they wanted a fresh start. It wouldn't have mattered who the internal was. They wanted somebody with an outside perspective to come in and make some changes. And so I think it just depends on where you are at your college at the time.
And I understand it's extremely rare for internal candidates to become presidents, is my understanding. So I think,
It's only happened a couple times in
yeah,
Virginia.
it's just a handful of times. And so, but because we had such a positive culture, and obviously Kim was a part of that already,
Yes.
it could have been completely different if it wasn't so positive.
Then
And
that may have worked against you.
yeah, and so, years of just creating, of all the higher administrators, creating a positive atmosphere, really, I think, made a huge difference in that. So
Well, it
we're
is,
very
because I mean,
lucky.
it was probably
Yeah.
very important to them to keep some level of the
Yes.
consistency and that sort of thing, but then bring somebody in who has done all of these other things in all these other areas, because they're still going to get the fresh perspective without basically tipping over the apple cart.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to build trust, We so we can start hitting the ground running and do some amazing things.
I think Curtis Morgan, he said it, he's one of our history faculty, and he said, he said, all we need is someone to keep us out of the ditches, but we don't need someone to change the entire road we're traveling on. And I thought, well, that's a neat way of saying that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
my video guinea pig. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you. Yes. We will hope for the best.
Yes.
I never go back and
Well,
listen to
what-
myself.
yeah.
I'm not going to go back and watch myself.
Well, so what I'll do when he's done is, and sends us the final for us